BDN, you take all 100K or 90K or so. Oh, how to maximize it by taking all 100K, 90K? I don't have any issue taking all of it. It's up to you. I mean, you're going to have to figure out what fits your budget and what fits your risk tolerance and what you're going to do with it. So if you've got 100,000, let's say you've got 100,000, 0% for 12 months. What can you do that's relatively safe that might, let's say, practically guarantee that you can get a decent return on that money and then also be able to pay it off? Okay? So that's the bar. That's the bar. Let's consider that the bar. What can you do? So if you've got $100,000 at 0% for the next year, what can we do? I can think of a number of different ways that we could put that to work. You could, there's some riskier ways and there's some safer ways. Let's say a riskier way might be you buy a flipper. You buy a house that is meant to flip in a short period of time. So within a year, right? You're going to use that for a down payment. You're going to utilize maybe some private financing to come up with the rest of what you need, or just a traditional bank loan. And you do the flip, you get it sold, and you get to pay off your credit card. You have a bunch of money left over. Okay, you pay off your credit card, you pay off the mortgage, you got money left over. That's a little bit risky because there's no guarantee the housing market is going to be the same position. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to sell it for what you need to sell it for down the road. There's no guarantee that you're not going to encounter other problems that require more cash. So there's definitely some risk when it comes to that. Okay, 3% transaction fee, no big deal. So it'll cost you $3,000. So what can we do that's a little bit safer? You could maybe invest in the stock market. Okay, this might be a little bit safer. You can go invest in a dividend-paying stock, something that has a decent rate of return and is very, very consistent in its value. So between now and the end of the year, maybe you can get a 5% dividend over the course of the year, and it's highly, highly likely that the value of that stock is going to either be about the same, or maybe it goes up a little bit. It might come down a little bit, but you're going to be able to cover that 3% transaction fee and pocket a little bit extra. Okay. Now there's always a little bit of risk there when you're buying stocks like that. All right. Always a little bit of risk, but the dividend's not guaranteed, but there's companies out there that are consistent in paying it out. You might be able to do that. That might be an okay use of those funds. It'll get you a little bit of growth. What else can we do out there? What might be a little bit safer there? Well, rather than dividend stock, or possibly even with that dividend stock, you might be able to buy that dividend stock. You're getting the dividend, but you sell a covered call that maybe expires in 1 year. So now you have a stock that is relatively stable, pays a dividend, and offers the ability that you can sell the ability for somebody to buy it from you at a certain rate in a year, which happens to be your time frame. So let's say it's a very stable stock, doesn't move much, so the covered calls don't sell for very much. But your $100,000, let's say it gives you the ability to sell, 10 covered calls. And those 10 covered calls, if you buy them for a year out, you might be able to get $1,000 a piece for them. $1,000 a piece. And that's if the stock moves up 2%. Okay? So you might be able to get a 5% dividend. If the stock goes up 2%, you sell it for that 2% gain in a year, and you get to keep the premium of $1,000 for each of those contracts. So $10,000. Now you've just turned that $100,000 into 110, 115, 120, $120,000. You just made a 20% return. And that could be a pretty safe way to do it. This is one of the things that, I'll probably cover this in my course. I'm going to be coming out with an options course. that'll be teaching safe income strategies. It'll probably be more focused on weeklies and monthlies as far as selling some covered calls, but I'm going to have a whole bunch of different ideas in there on how you can make your assets work for you better. Like if you already own some stocks, or different ways that you can use options in order to turn it into some income. But in this case, we're looking at, over the course of a year, what type of income can we turn that into? So that's one way that we can do it. Yeah. Joseph says account for capital gains tax. Yeah, I mean, if you do it over the course of a year, presumably you're going to do it in just enough time that you'll be able to get long-term capital gains tax on those. Now, selling the covered call, you're not going to. Those will be short-term. But, you're going to get taxed on the gains no matter what. So if you're going to make $20,000 in gains using that strategy, you might pay 30% in taxes. You're still at $14,000 net. Not too bad for using somebody else's money at 0% for a year, right? Oh, minus the 3% transaction. So 11 grand. You make 11 grand using somebody else's money for a year in a pretty safe way. That's not too bad. Now, there's all kinds of different stocks that you can use for that. This was just an example of what could possibly happen with like a very safe blue chip stock that doesn't move a whole lot. When you start to get into companies that offer a lot more volatility, we can really amplify those returns.
Hope you found value in today's video. If you'd like to find out more about IUL and the whole life, check out these videos right over here, and we'll see you next time.
Now go maximize your cash flow.